What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to BST. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Hopefully, everybody's adjusting from no football. It's been over a week since we recorded, and that was for the Super Bowl. And now we're kind of in a drought here where there is not a lot going on the football side of things. So we have to transition to other sports to kind of get that fix in our lives. And for me, it's been Olympic hockey, and it has been some great games so far. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So there are 4 games today, the quarterfinals of the final bracket. We've had preliminary games up until this point, and now we're finally to the real thing. And honestly, one of the better days of hockey I can in like recent memory. Honestly, like it has been awesome, absolutely awesome. The preliminary rounds were not as great. Like, not a lot of crazy good games. Honestly, like I'm not even sure there was like one that was like super close or anything. It was just a lot of not really very good hockey. But this quarterfinal was absolutely awesome. 3 overtime games. And before we kind of begin, I want to talk about the overtime games, or overtime as a whole in this tournament. First off, it should not be 3-on-3 overtime. That is a travesty. That is a mistake by whoever, like the powers, whoever is involved in making those decisions. When you're going to judge best on best at a tournament like the Olympics that is historic, making it 3-on-3 overtime is just insane to me. Because I don't think it truly shows who is the more talented team in that period. Even if it's tied after 3, and it's back and forth, like that overtime, the better team, like a team could have 5 straight possessions with some chances in the ozone and still lose because they just weren't able to get it past the goaltender, and then the team has like an odd man rush back the other way, they score. So for me, for my money, just make it 5-on-5. I feel like that is a pretty simple fix and something that I just can't really understand. So that's where I'm at with the OT. It needs to be 5-on-5, especially if it's going to be for the medal games. Like, we cannot keep doing this the way it is right now. But it does leave some good games. But let's start with a really, really early morning game, because that's the one thing. The other thing I kind of have also been a little disappointed by in these games so far is, I mean, I get it. It's a time zone thing, but just how early the games are. It's hard to catch the really early ones. I believe the gold medal game is just as early, so that's going to be fun. I believe it's at like 8 Eastern, 7 Eastern, something like that. So that's going to be great. But I'll still get up and watch it, especially if it's USA Canada, which I think we're all hoping for at this point. But this morning, Slovakia beats Germany 6-2. And honestly, if you told me this was the result but switched like at the start of the tournament, I would have believed you. I would not have believed you if you told me Slovakia would have made it this far. They have really been carried by their 2 best players, Juraj Slafkovský and Dalibor Dvorsky. Those 2 young players, Juraj Slafkovský, I mean, he's a guy who his draft stock really rose after playing in the Olympics. And he was drafted first overall by the Canadians. Dvorsky, I believe, is a prospect for the St. Louis Blues. But those 2 guys are just playing awesome hockey right now. But Germany, if you stack up Germany's 1-2 center depth, like having Draisaitl and Stützle as your top 2 centers, like that rivals anybody in this tournament. So I thought Germany was going to be a threat, and to lose like this is crazy. And it just shows Slovakia is on a crazy run right now. And they will face the United States in the semifinal. But good on them. I didn't watch any of the game, again, because it was so early, but good on them. They win 6-2. But let's get to these 3 big OT games. First off, let's start with Canada, Czechia. What a phenomenal hockey game. One of the best ones. I didn't watch the full thing, but I was listening to it at work, and I was able to watch some parts of it and able to catch the game-leading goal by Czechia in the third period. But we'll get there. But This was a game going into it that I just really did not think they had a chance. That being Czechia, I did not. I was like, yeah, maybe they battle a little bit, but at the end of the day, like this is gonna be a multi-goal victory by the Canadians, and it just wasn't. They scored really early. It was Celebrini, assisted by McDavid, and it felt like kind of the same old we've seen from Canada all this tournament. Just dominant play. And I didn't think it would change. I thought, okay, well, that's just the start. They're just going to pile it up on them. But no, they Czechia battled, and they score the next 2 goals to make it 2-1 after one. And then I kind of started to look at their roster. I'm like, this makes a little bit of sense. They got Hurdle, they got Natchez, they got Pasternak, they got Nemitz. Like, they got some players here. And so that's when I was like, all right, maybe they got a chance. You're up 2-1 after one. And I thought, okay, getting the lead is so huge because they can kind of just park the bus and just play at the blue line and try to not let Canada be comfortable in the O zone. And they did for a while, but it was a costly penalty in the second period that you didn't need to take. It was a cross-checking on McKinnon. And you in the O zone, like I at least would have understood a penalty where you're in the defensive end and you're trying to hook a guy who might have a scoring opportunity, something like that. A cross check in the O zone is just simply that cannot happen. And Canada ties in on McKinnon power play goal. That's just brutal because you had the lead, you were parking the bus, you were playing good defense, and you're just going to say Canada's not going to score on us. And they score on the power play. And that's just one thing you can't do against, especially Canada, with how lethal that power play is. So that was brutal. And then also on the Canada side, it is 2-2, but you're also down Sidney Crosby because he and Radko Gudas get tangled up, which, by the way, Radko Gudas is just a absolute wrecking ball, which, a lot of Canadian fans are not very happy with him. Just an unfortunate play. Gets kind of tangled up, falls awkwardly on his leg. It looked like he did skate for a little bit afterwards, but then just left the game. But it was reported that John Cooper told his team, this will not be Sidney Crosby's last game in a Canada sweater. In all likelihood, that he won't be around for the next go around of the Winter Olympics. But he's like, this will not be his last game. And I'm not sure if Crosby is going to be good to go for the semifinal against Finland, but we'll see with how that goes. But yeah, a lot of adversity for Canada in this game, and that's something we haven't seen so far in this tournament. Was Canada struggling? I mean, they have thoroughly dominated every single one of their opponents up to this point, and they find themselves tied with Czechia without their captain going into the third quarter. That is an extraordinarily tough position to be in. And with about 8 minutes left, it's an odd man rush with Natchez, and he waits and waits and waits, is super patient, has probably a scoring chance himself, and makes the extra pass to Palat, and he buries it. And with 8 minutes left, the Canadians, who are the heavy favorite in this tournament, and possibly the greatest team ever assembled, are down. They're down in the third period with 8 minutes to go, and they are in danger of not even medaling. I mean, that was a insane situation that if you told me that at the start of the game, I'd be like, you're lying to me. And that's the situation we were in. But once again, they battled back, and you knew Czechia had to play perfect because Canada is just so good. They have too many good players. Like, they're going to get chances here and there. And honestly, the game-tying goal in the third period by Nick Suzuki, it's not even the best chance in the world. I mean, it's just him driving right in front of the goalie. It's a shot wide by Taves. It's tipped right through Dostal's pads. I think it's Dostal. Lucas Dostal. By the way, he was absolutely phenomenal in this game. The Ducks goaltender, I mean, he's a special player. Unbelievable. Like, he was making save after save after save. And honestly, like, if you played this game 100 times, like this is probably a multi-goal victory for Canada, a good portion of those. Like they had multiple chances. Like Suzuki missed a chance where he just shoots it right through the goal crease and he has a wide open net. So they tie it and you're like, God dang it. Like I think everybody in America and anybody cheering against Canada was just like, man, they had them. And I think then I knew, I'm like, it's probably over. Especially as the time dwindled down and it looked like overtime was a very large possibility. And then especially once the clock hit 0, I'm like, okay, Czechs probably just didn't make enough plays. And of course there's the Natchez breakaway. Wasn't a full breakaway. I don't think he really ever had a chance to score there. By the time he got into a position, he just didn't have enough space. So Binnington, for I don't think any of the 3 goals are a ton on him. Just and I mean, I completely forgot to talk about, like, on the Natchez pass to Palat for the game leading goal in the third. Like, there's 6 men on the ice, and I've heard up to 8 men. Like, some people are saying there were 8 men on the ice. Let's just talk about that for a second. That is an absolute travesty if that's the case for the officials of this tournament. Could you imagine if Canada lost this game and the game-winning goal was because there were 6 men on the ice and it's an illegal play that you let go? How do you not see the 6 men on the ice? So the officiating has to be better, especially for these upcoming possible medal games. So that is just an insane possibility that we were this close away from. Just insane to me. The officiating has to be better. But we're going to overtime. And I will say the Czechs have an intriguing roster for overtime, where it's like you have Pastrnak, you have Natchez. That's pretty decent. Like, that's not horrible. It's not horrible at all. But at the same time, you look at Canada and, like, they're cycling McDavid, Makar, McKinnon, Celebrini. Like, that's pretty good. That's, like, the best. It doesn't get any better than that in terms of speed, in terms of defense, in terms of scoring. You name it, Canada is the best at it, especially in 3-on-3. So that's where I knew, I'm like, it's probably over. And, there were chances both ways. And funny enough, it's Mitch Marner who ends up getting it. And it wasn't even the greatest look. Like, he just beat 3 guys to the net and backhanded it past Dostal. Like, I mean, it wasn't like anything special. It wasn't a odd man rush. Like, it was just Marner making a play. And I think that's what makes Canada so dangerous is they just have players who can do that, and they're all over the roster. So it's a tough one for Czechia because you were so close. Like, honestly, part of me just like, give them the bronze medal just for that game, man. That was unbelievable. This is a team if you're the Czechs, you just lost 5-0 to this team in the preliminary stages, and you come into this game and it looked like I'm not going to say they wanted it more than Canada, but they wanted it at a similar level to Canada, and they wanted a hell of a lot. So impressive from Czechia to battle and to get where they got, 1 goal away from beating probably the greatest team ever assembled in hockey. But yeah, Marner, which is kind of poetic because Leafs fans, he leaves the Leafs in the offseason. Leafs fans say he can't perform in big games, and in maybe the biggest game of his career, he gets the game-winning goal. And Canada narrowly escapes 4-3. And I think if you're the United States or any of the other teams in the semifinal, you've seen the cracks now that are in Canada's roster, especially defensively. So Canada's not invincible. No one in this tournament is. And when Canada's at their best, they're probably the best. But if you can shut down McDavid and some of their top-end players and just have a goalie who is a wall back there, they're beatable. But Canada ends up getting the win 4-3 in overtime. That was the first overtime game we had. Midway through that Canada game, Finland started. And game will be eerily similar to the U.S. game that we'll talk about in a second. But the Swiss go up 2-0 very early in the first period. And it's kind of a shocker because you're looking at Finland. You're like, man, Finland? Like, and as an American, I'm like, okay, I kind of want Finland to win this one. So Canada has, the tougher opponent because the Swiss are good, but you already lost Fiala to that horrible injury. And losing him, it's just like kind of like, all right, that's an NHLer that's gone. And, they have other good players on the team for sure. But at the same time, it's just like Finland is pretty stacked. And it's a shame for Finland. They don't have Barkov, who would be their captain. Like, he's the best Finnish player in hockey right now, for sure. And he's injured, so that sucks. But, still, Finland is a formidable force, and they showed that down the stretch. But yeah, the Swiss go up 2-0, and you're like, man, that's kind of crazy. I remember looking at the score because I was watching the Canada-Czechia game, and I looked at the score after it was done. I'm like, wow, they're up 2-0. That's insane. Because I thought the Finns would not run away with it, but at least control the game. And then it takes all the way till the third period. That's kind of when I started tuning in. Aho scores, and it's 2-1. And you're like, all right, they have life. And it was 6 minutes left in the third. And then after they pull the goalie, 1 minute remaining, it's Heiskanen. And it's a really nice goal. And they tie it. And you're like, all right, we're going to overtime again. And it was kind of back and forth in overtime. But Arturi Lehkonen on the rush, just bar down, roofs it. Like, it was an awesome goal by Arturi Lehkonen, who has had some big goals in his career. And Finland takes it. I think this is the best option for like a tough game or some good games coming up. I think Finland offers Canada their best chance to beat them. Like, it's going to be a great game. Finland has NHLers all over the ice, obviously. So I'm really excited to see that game. But yeah, Finland wins 3-2. Great game. And then finally, let's talk about the United States and Sweden. Similarly to the Swedish or the Switzerland game, it's just like it was the same kind of formula, only they didn't get that second goal until the overtime, where the U.S. goes up 1-0. I think it was in the second. It was tied 0-0 after one, and neither team could really get possession fully. It was kind of back and forth of both teams were playing not to lose, basically. Like, it wasn't like a ton of offense going this way, that way. It wasn't the goalies really standing on their head a whole ton. It was a lot of the just like dump it in, play good defense, don't make the mistake, really safe hockey. And if I'm the United States, I'm putting it to Sweden because Sweden has a good roster, but if we're just looking at who has the better roster, who is the more talented team, it's the United States. And I felt like they played this game kind of like Czechia played Canada, and they tried to they got the lead and they got really, really passive, and they didn't try to go for too much. And I just felt like, you're the more talented team. Just go for it. Go for the kill. But like, Hellebuck was so awesome. Like, so awesome. He made so many big saves, had the poke check late in the game. That was a huge one. And it's 1-0 up until like the last 2 minutes or so of the game, and it's a great pass from Raymond to Zibanejad, which I actually heard it's Zibanejad or Zibanejad, or like the J is silent. Apparently, that's what I heard. But I'll still call him Zibanejad because that's what I've called him for his entire career. And he buries it, and it's right past Binnington. I mean, it's a tough one. It's a beautiful cross-ice pass from Raymond, who has been just money this tournament. And it's tied 1-1. And you're like, God damn it, man. That's the one thing you couldn't do. You were so close. You were a minute or two away from just ending it 1-0. You played such a good game defensively. And Hellebuck was so good up until that point. And you're like 1-1, and then we're gonna have to rely on 3-on-3 overtime. Like that's a brutal place to be. In a tournament like this where something could just go horribly wrong and then you're just done. And like if you think about it, the US and Canada, like we were a goal away in each of those games from those two teams being eliminated. The two gold medal favorites from being eliminated. But in overtime, the United States just dominated. Sweden didn't really have any opportunities. The puck went the other way sometimes, but I don't think they had a shot on goal. I think the U.S. had all 5 shots on goal in the overtime period, and there were chances for the United States to score earlier, but eventually it's a give and go from Boldy to Hughes, and Hughes just makes stuff happen, put an absolute rifle on net, hits the post and in, perfect shot, and the U.S. wins it. I love Quinn Hughes. He's got a fan for life from me now. I mean, what a goal. What a moment. It's all the seeing ghost stuff is so funny to me. And he gets this big time goal to keep the U.S. moving on. And in a day where you saw so many teams go to overtime, I'm sure it just feels like a relief. You're like, okay, the puck bounced our way today, but we got to play better hockey. And I really think they do. I will say it's like they're not built to be a super high-flying team. Like they left, I think all 3 of the top U.S. goal scorers are not on the team. Like that is kind of how they built this roster, is to be defensive. It's not like Canada. And what I will say is I feel like that is the right structure to beat Canada. Like that, you have to be a stifling team to beat Canada. So I don't hate that aspect of how they built the team, but like they're not going to score a lot of goals. So you get in these type of games where it's like you may only be up by 1 with 2 minutes remaining. You got to not let the empty net goal happen. And coming up against Canada, you're going to have to play better than you did today, and be more opportunistic. So I'm cautiously optimistic. You're going up next against Slovakia, who has been a surprise team. Like I said, you should beat them. You're just deeper. And Slovakia is going to try to beat you with their speed. You got to not let them. And that's easier said than done. But like at the end of the day, you're the United States. They're Slovakia. You have some of the best NHL players in the world. Just handle business, and you're in the gold medal game, and then you kind of take it from there. But what you can't do is look past this team to the gold medal game against Canada or Finland. You cannot. You have to take this at face value. Look at Slovakia as a real threat, which they are. But I was encouraged by that overtime period, even though I said earlier it doesn't really judge talent. But I was encouraged by how the team played. And especially even after giving up the game tying goal, I thought up until the clock's at 0 in the third period, like they really went for a push there to try to win it just then. But I think it was kind of a wake up call, because I think they thought they could just kind of coast to victory and play really safe hockey. And I think it showed that they need to just put the metal to the pedal and keep it going, try to score some more goals. And they had chances, and Sweden's goalie, I think it was Markstrom, he was just good, but I don't know. I thought the U.S. should have been more aggressive. But now, if we're talking, it's not to get our head of ourselves, but I think everybody now is on the idea that it's going to be a Canada-U.S. gold medal game, and I don't blame them. And I'm hoping that's what it ends up being now, because if Canada wasn't going to get eliminated, I want it to be that, because I think it's going to be the best matchup possible just for some good hockey. But Canada has Finland. That's going to be a tough test. That's why I kind of liked the United States playing Sweden, because, and just how the bracket was set up, it was going to be Canada-Finland, and I would rather have had like our tougher matchup this game than the next one for some reason. I don't know. That's how I look at it. But yeah, United States wins 2-1 in overtime over Sweden. And for a tournament that was so bad in the preliminary, like I said, to be this good in the quarterfinal, it's just awesome. And I hope the next semifinal is really good too. Maybe not for the U.S. Hopefully the U.S. just completely dominates, but I think it's going to be good. It's been really good hockey. So yeah, stay tuned for some more videos. Definitely for the gold medal game. And just coming up, got a lot of fun sports stuff coming up. The NBA should resume soon. Same with the NHL after this tournament is over. And then we got like NFL draft stuff. I mean, it's going to be a fun offseason in the NFL. We already have some news about Tyreek Hill. And then just the draft is always fun. Doing mock drafts. I might do a mock draft before the draft sometime, or maybe mock draft Mondays or something like that. But yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. All these things help out a ton. Please check out TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. What else are we on? I think that's it. But yeah, support helps a ton. Leave a comment what you thought about these games, who you got winning the gold this year. Hopefully it's the United States of America. Of course, I'm biased, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.